welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome. My name is Meg, and today we're doing an episode of Bachelor Talks. If you guys are new, welcome. Bachelor Talks is a series I just started on my channel where I will be recapping every episode or every 2 episodes of The Bachelor. This is season 22 with Arie, and we just saw the Paris episode. I believe we are on episode 6 now. So that is what we're going to be discussing today. So get your comments ready. I want to know your thoughts and opinions on the episode and on the girls and the dates and Arie and everything that you would have to say. I would love it if you left me a comment down below so we can chit chat about the series, and let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm not going to lie to y'all, I'm having a craptastic day as I'm referring to it. I just did a full face of first impressions, and spoiler alert, it was a disaster. The video that I just filmed will probably be up at the end of the month or the beginning of March, honestly, because I have so many other videos that I have filmed and that I need to get up before this. But if you want to know what I'm talking about and what products just like really were the icing on top of like a really bad day, subscribe so you can find out, and maybe you can learn what products to avoid to make your face look awful. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the episode. I was really excited for this week's episode because I love Paris, and they say every city is a city that you fall in love on The Bachelor, but Paris is like the city. It's the city of love, come on. So there's some, again, I felt like it was there were some interesting aspects, but overall I felt like it was kind of like another boring episode. I do think it's cool that they were staying on a little boat thing on the river, like that's really neat. So the episode starts and Arie is gonna take the first one-on-one date. There's 4 different dates in one episode. It was a lot to take in. So Arie takes Lauren B on the first one-on-one date, and I really like her. I really feel like there's potential for her to make it really far along in the show. But she obviously struggles with like opening up and like actually having conversation, which I can understand because I definitely suffer like with social anxiety and just anxiety in general, and it's a lot of pressure when you just meet someone to go on an extravagant trip like going to Paris. And then there's the added pressure of the fact that there's cameras everywhere and you're on a TV show, but I would like to think at this point you would be kind of used to the cameras being around and it would be like a little bit more natural. But her nerves definitely got the best of her, and I thought that we were going to be seeing her leave and go bye-bye, but she managed to turn it around and pull it together at dinner. She was really able to open up to him, and I believe she said that she was engaged before. I want to say it was her that said that. I could be wrong. Honestly, I was like paying like 75% of my attention to the TV show, which I'll get into in a minute. Ugh, my makeup is like itching my face. So she was able to open up, and Arie finally opened up. Like, oh my gosh, I feel like in every single Bachelor Talks episodes, I'm like, we don't know anything about him. He just wants to make out with people. He doesn't ask them questions. He doesn't really reveal anything about himself, but he expects them to be like super vulnerable and like revealing all these deep personal information about themselves. So we find out that he was with someone who has suffered a miscarriage, and I feel like it was really important for him to share this because we got to see him open up, and it definitely helped Lauren a lot because her main issue is like, how can I trust someone to open up to? And I definitely think that it's a good thing that she was able to finally explain herself when they were at dinner, and she was able to open up, and she did get a rose. So I'm really happy to see that she got to continue on the show, because at the end of the video I'm going to share my picks for who I think is going to go on the hometown date, and she's definitely one of them. Okay, so I just looked it up, and Lauren was the one that said that she was engaged, so like I'm betting that's her ex-boyfriend that we saw in the previews. That's my proposal to give. Like, I guarantee that's her ex-boyfriend. All right, so next was a group date. So everyone but Crystal, of course. We all knew she was getting the 2-on-1. Kendall and Jacqueline. So like they were the 3 that weren't on the group date, and the group date was the Moulin Rouge. And I thought that that was such a fun group date because I'm so into that stuff. I think that that's so cool. Paris is like easily one of my favorite cities in the world. Like of all the places that I've traveled to, I love Paris and I want to go back so bad. So I just really, really enjoyed this aspect, and like I was there more for the sightseeing than actually paying attention to what they were saying with each other. But I thought it was really fun that they got to do like the choreography and like goof around. Like I thought that that was like a really good group date to have in Paris. So we definitely saw Becca M. Of course, she like outshined everyone with her personality, and she got the rose on the group date. So she got to perform on stage with Arie, which I feel like a lot of girls had mixed feelings about, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of them would not have wanted to perform on stage, and they were just mostly like, I'm sure, not jealous, but I would say envious at the fact that she got a rose so she knew she was safe. I think that that was really like what they were mostly side-eyeing her for, because you could definitely see in the audience some of them were giving her a little bit of a side eye. Then another thing that stood out on the group date to me was Sian, because she was a dancer, and I thought that she did really, really great. And it's just kind of like, well, what can't she do kind of situation. Like, I think that she is such a catch. People that I think that fell flat, I feel like Becca, is it Becca K? The other Becca with like the longer brown hair that was on the first one-on-one date. I feel like she isn't really standing out. Like, group dates are totally not her thing. So I'm kind of worried about how long she's gonna stick around and last, because she really doesn't shine at all on these group date settings. You can just tell that they're so not for her. All right, so let's get down to it and talk about the 2-on-1, which was Kendall and Crystal. I really like Kendall a lot. I think that she's so unique. I feel like she has so much to offer, and like she hasn't been able to reach her full potential on the show and really show like Arie what she's all about. If she doesn't make it to the end, I definitely hope that we see her on a different show for sure, because I feel like she's a really cool girl. And then of course we have Crystal. And Crystal knew it was coming. Everyone is like one of those things where you hope she goes home, but you never know, because she already did give her a rose last week. So that means that there is something that he sees in Crystal that is serious. So they were at a little chateau. It was a little bit awkward, and I felt so bad for Kendall. But basically, Arie, of course, pulls Crystal aside first, and he's basically trying to talk to her, asking her like what the deal with her behavior from last week was, and like, if you're having an issue with me, come to me first, don't talk to other people. Like, that was such a turnoff. And I feel like if that was his deal and he was really that bothered by it, like, why didn't he just send her home last week? Like, it just seemed like a waste of time to bring her out to Paris, if that's how he felt. Maybe he was hoping to reconnect with her, and she was basically like, well, let's just forget it and put it behind us, and she didn't really want to discuss it. And I think that that's what her downfall was like not really discussing this with him. She was just wanting to brush it off, and then she quickly and conveniently turned the conversation to Kendall and started saying, Kendall's never been in a relationship longer than 10 months. Like, how do you know she's ready to get married? Like, basically, she's just trying to, Crystal's smart at what she does. She's a very calculated person. She's basically trying to put these negative thoughts about Kendall and like what would be red flags about Kendall in Arie's mind to help influence him to pick her and send Kendall home. So obviously that's a concern for Arie, and I just felt that it was really unfair to Kendall, because she's 26 years old. Like, is it really her fault that she hasn't had a relationship basically longer than a year, and she feels like she's never truly been in love? I mean, I feel like Arie's not really one to talk, because he said he's only been in love once, and that was with Emily, and that was on the show. So again, I feel like, God, I don't know, this is what I'm saying with him that like just rubs me the wrong way, is that I feel like he's so judgmental towards these women, when it's just like, if you can't say the same for yourself, then like why are you sitting there acting like you have all these super high standards? I don't get it. Anyways, if you want to use that as an argument, then what about Becca? Like, she's 20, Becca M, she's 22. I doubt she's had like any super serious relationships in her life. Like, I feel like you could say that for any of the girls that are there. Like, anyone that's 26 or younger, it's like, can you really say like they're married, like ready for marriage? I don't. Moving on. So after that little talk, we see them at dinner, and it is so, oh, before dinner, we see Kendall kind of like not really confront Crystal, but like really sit down and have an open ended in like an open-hearted conversation with her. And this is like what really makes me like Kendall and puts like so many pluses in her box for me, is that she was trying to connect with Crystal and really try to understand Crystal on a deeper level, when I think she even knew herself that Crystal was playing a game, that she's very calculated and this and that. But Kendall's able to recognize at the end of the day that Crystal is a person and that there is a person with actual feelings under the character that she's playing. I think like that's what Kendall was trying to get at. And I love that she was able to sit down and take herself out of the situation and try to be empathetic towards Crystal. And Crystal wanted like nothing to do with it. And I think it's because she felt threatened that Kendall was like kind of calling her on her bluff. And I just love how later at dinner, Crystal's like, I want nothing to do with this conversation. I have no words for you. And how dare you try to call me out, and you don't know me. And anyways, so yeah, dinner was off to an awkward start. And then Crystal was just blabbing and just really trying to present her case to Arie a little bit too hard, a little bit too desperate. Again, the whole time she says everyone else is desperate, but she has been the most desperate looking on the show. And what pissed me off is that honestly, I was like so tempted to fast forward most of this because it was so like boring to me, because you would think it would be hyped up a lot, like the showdown with Crystal and whoever else. But what pissed me off is that I was like kind of bored throughout the whole scene. But then when Arie goes, Kendall, can I go talk to you for a minute? They go off camera. We don't know what the hell they talked about. Like what were they talking about? That's the nosy Nancy in me. I'm like, this whole thing was boring, but like, I want to know what they talked about. And I will just say that Kendall had red lipstick on before, and when they came back, she wasn't wearing any lipstick. Also, like that earlier in the date, I'm kind of sidetracking, Kendall did explain herself to Arie with the whole marriage thing. She's like, yes, like you're absolutely right. I've never been in a serious relationship. I've never felt like I want to marry this person. I mean, obviously that's like why you're single and why you're there, because you can't make it work. So I like that she was able to explain herself and say like, when the time is right and the feeling is right, that's all that matters. And then she let Arie know like that's what she was feeling for him. And I finally think Arie realized that Crystal was just there to compete and win and be super competitive, and that Kendall was actually there to get to know him and was there for the right reason. So she's the one that got the rose, and Crystal had to pack her bags and got sent on her way. But another thing about Crystal before we're done discussing her is that she's just so disingenuous, and you could tell that she was just very competitive person, which is totally fine. But that also means that like if you're competitive and you're not feeling Arie or like whoever you're there for, you're definitely there for the wrong reasons. And you can just tell that she was just so not genuine about it. Like she wasn't upset. You see her standing there staring at the Eiffel Tower. She doesn't look hurt. She doesn't look sad. She just looks pissed. And then in her interview, I was just like, she's not even gonna cry. Like she didn't care at all. And then finally, like the last 10 seconds, they showed tears coming down her face. But I feel like they were forced fake tears anyways, because there's such a difference between like her and Jacqueline, for example, or like her and the girls that ended up going home. Like they were sobbing and like so upset by it. And Crystal's tears, like she's just so like flat and robotic to me. And like I said, she could be totally great in real life, but this whole character thing, like you could just tell it was just such a bit. All right, so last but not least was the one-on-one date with Jacqueline. And to be honest, I wasn't paying super close attention to this date because I was on the phone with my husband during most of it. But basically they just had another like romantic Paris date, strolling around going shopping. And Arie admitted that he was so intimidated by Jacqueline's intelligence. And I feel like that's why we haven't really seen a lot of her on the show. And why he's had like this weird distance thing is because he's so intimidated by her. But I think it's great that he's not letting that stop that from pursuing her. And that they're both on the same page, that they're both going to do what they want and they're just going to work together instead of letting it be an issue in their relationship. So she was able to continue on with the competition. She came back with the rose. So there's no cocktail party. We went straight into the rose ceremony. So far the people with roses are Becca M, Kendall, Lauren B, and then Jacqueline. So there's 3 other roses to hand out, and then of course Tia got the first rose. If you guys haven't seen my other videos, she is like my favorite on the show. I just love her personality. And then Tien luckily got a rose, and then Becca got a rose. And I was kind of on the fence. Like I'm like, he's either going to pick Chelsea or Becca. Like Jenna, we didn't really see much airtime of her at all on the show, which is a shame, but I can totally see her on Paradise. So I knew she wasn't gonna get picked, so it was kind of like, is that first date magic still there for Becca, or is he gonna go with Chelsea? And I felt like he had a really good connection with her, and I was really starting to like her a lot, and I wanted to see her progress more on the show, because I honestly could have seen her going to hometowns on the show. But unfortunately, Becca got picked over Chelsea, so Chelsea went home with Jenna. So next week, we're gonna have a final beat out and then hometowns. So for hometowns, I definitely think he's gonna pick Tia, at least I hope he does. I can definitely see him picking Cien. I can see him picking Lauren. And then, I don't know, like I feel like it's gonna be a toss up between the two Beccas. Like honestly, I don't know who my fourth pick for the hometown date is, because I could see it going either way with the three of them that are left. So I think like maybe Arie's gonna have to make his decision about Becca M's age, and if that's gonna be a huge issue for him. And then if he's able to reconnect to Becca K, like on the first date, I can see her getting that spot easily. But now he also picked up a relationship with Jacqueline, so it's kind of like up in the air. So who are your guys' picks for hometowns? Like who do you think he's going to end up the final four with? Let me know in the comments below. All right, so that wraps it up. This one is rather long. I didn't think I was gonna have this much to say about this episode, because I did think it was rather boring. But don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on my other videos. I will have a playlist with the other Bachelor Talks down below. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.